as somebody who's leading the fight for responsible AI, and I'm sure many younger women look up to you, what are some of the future trends that you see coming that would help society become more equal in all terms, whether gendered or not?
Governance is a bad word, or regulation, not, or government is a bad word, or regulation is a bad word. But I come out of biology. I think of regulation as breathing. And then I realized, again, I have a partner from their continent. So you Americans, you all think that like, there's, like a marriage, happy ever after. That's it. It's a goal. There isn't an end point to this kind of thing. We have to keep regulating, and it does go up and down, just like the oxygen in our bodies when we breathe. So there isn't an end point, but I do think there's an evolution. I do think we're improving. And I think every time we come up with these concepts and every time we find new ways to struggle for it, that helps us in the main. But most of what we have to do is just keep the system working and pushing forward and constantly being vigilant when we know a new thing to watch for, that we try to keep watching for it. So I guess for me, the main thing is that we're finding all these new ways to cooperate, to share good ideas, to monitor the unfairness. People didn't believe how unfair the system was until it was really right in front of their face. And when I first wrote that paper, the 2017 paper, we talked a lot about gender. There's some race in it too, because that was the big concern of the people whose papers we modeled. It was actually mostly about race in the United States. That was what they were worried about. And so people actually somehow mistook my paper as saying, and the original papers as saying that there was something unpleasant about African Americans. It's like, it's not that there was something unpleasant about African Americans, there was something associated with African Americans. And a couple of years later, we saw the George Floyd stuff, and we saw how people were being treated in the protests, which white people, when they protest, are not treated that way. And then everybody's, no one asks me that question anymore. No one says, why are you showing this correlation between unpleasantness and African-American names? So we just need to be able to document these things. And we have that. So to me, that's the most exciting tools. But the other exciting tools are the means by which we cooperate and communicate. And I think that's a really good goal for young women that are going into technology. One of the open questions to me is, how can we make transparency work? Transparency isn't just open sourcing. It's not just like, WikiLeaks and just like infinite. We all need a space to make mistakes in. Even diplomats, but also, every child, you have to be able to create an identity. We all need privacy. But transparency is about knowing what you need to know. And in particular, I think we need, downward transparency. We need to know, is the government doing its job? How can we show that the government's doing its job? A lot of the way that people like autocrats are coming in is by claiming the government is not doing its job and that you're wasting your tax money, and that's false. But it used to be people tried to make the government kind of invisible. They try to say, oh, it shouldn't bother you. If it's working, you don't see it. Now we know that's not true. If it's working, it needs to be visible, and there has to be a way that you can check to see if your money's spent well. So I'm talking about government here because I'm at a governance school, but the same is true of software. There ought to be a way. It's not that you're going to instantly understand really complicated things, but we ought to be able to explain at the high level, well, this is what this is for. And then if you want to look more, there should be an open, transparent way to get a little bit more information, At some point, either you might need a security clearance, or you might need a PhD, or you might need to have to learn English or math or something, right? Or Chinese, But at least it should be clear to you that you could know, if you wanted to, how much time you'd have to spend, maybe who to telephone to check it out for you that could read Chinese or whatever.